Imagine a prison so secure it was deemed inescapable. Yet, within these walls, a plan was brewing that would defy all odds. Welcome to Colonia Prison, where the impossible became reality. The year was 2000. A new millennium had dawned, bringing with it hopes of progress and change. Yet in the heart of Texas, time seemed to stand still. Deep in the heart of Texas, Colonia Prison stood as a monument to confinement. Its walls, tall and foreboding, cast long shadows over the barren landscape. It was a place where hope went to die. The desolate yard, devoid of life, echoed the despair of those trapped within. Colonia was a maximum security penitentiary. Its reputation for being impenetrable was well known, a fortress designed to contain the most dangerous individuals. It housed the state's most hardened criminals, men who had committed unspeakable acts now confined to a life behind bars. The prison was built with one purpose: to keep those inside. Its walls were thick, its gates heavily secured. Colonia was known for its brutal conditions. The environment was harsh, unforgiving, and relentless. The Texas sun beat down mercilessly. The heat was oppressive, adding to the already unbearable conditions. Temperatures often soared well over 100 degrees. The heat waves rising from the ground distorted the view, making the prison seem like a mirage in a desert. The inmates sweltered in overcrowded cells. The lack of space and ventilation made the heat even more unbearable. Violence was a constant threat. Tensions ran high and altercations were a daily occurrence. Every day was a struggle for survival. Inmates had to navigate the treacherous social dynamics of prison life. The guards were always on high alert. Their presence was a constant reminder of the ever-present danger. They patrolled the perimeter with watchful eyes. Every movement was scrutinized, every action monitored. Every inch of the prison was designed to prevent escape. The security measures were intricate, leaving no room for error. Razor wire glinted menacingly in the sun. It was a stark reminder of the prison's purpose. Guard towers loomed high above the prison yard. From these vantage points, guards could see everything, ensuring that no one could escape unnoticed. Searchlights scanned the grounds relentlessly. Colonia was a fortress, or so it seemed. The prison's defenses were formidable, but the human spirit is resilient, and even in the darkest places, hope can find a way to survive. Colonia Prison boasted an impressive security record. No one had ever escaped from within its walls. The guards grew complacent. They believed their systems were foolproof. But they underestimated the will of desperate men. Among the inmates, whispers of a daring plan began to circulate. The inmates were acutely aware of the prison's routines. They observed the guards, noting their patterns and habits. They knew the shift changes, the blind spots, the moments of vulnerability. They were biding their time, waiting for the perfect opportunity. The men planning this audacious escape were not hardened criminals. They were not career convicts. They were a group of 7 men, led by 2 unlikely masterminds. George Rivas was the group's charismatic leader. With piercing blue eyes and a disarming smile, he could charm the stripes off a zebra. But beneath his easygoing demeanor lurked a sharp mind and a steely resolve. Rivas was serving multiple life sentences for aggravated robbery and kidnapping. He was a man with nothing to lose. Joseph Garcia was Rivas's right-hand man. Quiet and calculating, Garcia possessed a genius-level intellect. He was a meticulous planner. Garcia was serving a 50-year sentence for murder. He saw this escape as his only shot at redemption. Together, Rivas and Garcia assembled a team of 5 other inmates. Each man possessed a unique skill set crucial to the success of their plan. The escape plan was audacious, bordering on insane. It hinged on exploiting a critical flaw in the prison's maintenance system. The inmates had discovered a blind spot in one of the guard towers. It provided a brief window of opportunity. They would use this blind spot to their advantage. Over several weeks, the inmates, led by Garcia's meticulous instructions, began to gather materials. They stole tools from the maintenance yard. They pilfered clothing from the laundry room. They scavenged scraps of metal and wire from the workshop. Slowly, they began to assemble the tools they needed for their escape. Their work had to be done in complete secrecy. Discovery meant certain death. Section 5, Freedom's Sweet Taste. On December 13th, 2000, the plan swung into action. It was a day that had been meticulously planned for months, with every detail scrutinized and every possible outcome considered. The inmates had been waiting for this moment, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. It was a day like any other at Colonia. The guards went about their routines, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. The prison yard buzzed with the usual activity, a facade of normalcy masking the tension that lay beneath. The sun beat down, and the guards sweltered in the heat. The relentless Texan sun showed no mercy, and the guards' focus wavered as they wiped sweat from their brows. It was the perfect distraction. They were completely oblivious to the events unfolding beneath their noses. The inmates had chosen this day for a reason. The heat made the guards sluggish and less vigilant. It was a calculated risk, and it was about to pay off. The inmates, disguised in makeshift guard uniforms, used their stolen tools to overpower unsuspecting prison staff. They had spent weeks crafting these uniforms, ensuring every detail was perfect. The element of surprise was on their side. They moved swiftly and silently, their movements practiced and precise. Every step had been rehearsed, every action planned. They communicated with hand signals, their eyes sharp and focused. Using a combination of cunning and brute force, they made their way to the outer fence. The tools they had stolen were put to good use, cutting through obstacles with ease. They knew time was of the essence. The inmates cut through the chain-link fence. The sound of metal giving way was music to their ears. Freedom was within their grasp, and they could almost taste it. They slipped into the night, disappearing into the vast Texan landscape. The darkness was their ally, concealing their movements as they ran towards freedom. Every step took them further from their past and closer to a new beginning. The escape was a success. Against all odds, they had done it. The taste of freedom was sweet, and the air outside the prison walls felt different, filled with possibilities. For the first time in Colonia's history, the impossible had happened. The inmates were free. The prison gates stood open, a silent testament to their daring and determination. The world outside awaited them, a world full of hope and uncertainty. Section 6, 40 Days of Chaos. News of the escape sent shockwaves across the nation. Colonia was considered inescapable. How could this have happened? The escape dominated headlines, and a nationwide manhunt ensued. Law enforcement agencies from across the country joined the chase. The escapees, led by Rivas and Garcia, managed to stay one step ahead of the law for an astonishing 40 days. They used their ill-gotten gains to finance their flight from justice. They relied on their wits, their courage, and a healthy dose of luck. The escapees committed a series of daring robberies to fund their time on the run. They became folk heroes to some and a source of terror to others. Section 7. Heroes or Villains. The escape from Colonia prison sparked a media frenzy. The story had all the elements of a Hollywood blockbuster. The public was captivated by the audacity of the escape. Opinions were divided about the escapees. Some saw them as dangerous criminals who deserved to be caught. Others viewed them as folk heroes who had outsmarted a corrupt system. The escapees themselves seemed to revel in their newfound notoriety. They taunted authorities, they gave interviews to the media. They seemed to be enjoying their 15 minutes of fame, but their time on the run was running out. The net was closing in. Section 8. The long arm of the law. Despite their best efforts, the escapees couldn't outrun the law forever. The Texas Seven, as they were infamously known, had managed to evade capture for 40 days, but their luck was running out. The authorities were closing in, and the net was tightening around them. The FBI, using a combination of old-fashioned detective work and modern technology, finally tracked them down to a Colorado motel room. The game was up. The agents moved in swiftly, surrounding the motel and cutting off any possible escape routes. The fugitives, realizing they were cornered, had no choice but to surrender. The escapees were apprehended without incident. The arrest was a testament to the relentless pursuit by law enforcement, who had worked tirelessly day and night to bring these dangerous men to justice. The streets were finally safe again, and the public could breathe a sigh of relief. Their 40 days of freedom were over. The once elusive fugitives were now in custody, facing the consequences of their actions. The small town streets, which had been gripped by fear, could now return to normalcy. The capture of the Texas Seven, as they had become known, brought an end to one of the most daring and improbable escapes in American history. News reporters flocked to cover the event, capturing every moment as the suspects were escorted by law enforcement. The story made headlines nationwide, and the public was captivated by the dramatic conclusion. The escape exposed serious flaws in the Texas prison system. The audacity of the escape and the length of time the fugitives remained at large highlighted significant security lapses. It was a wake-up call for prison authorities and lawmakers alike. It led to a complete overhaul of security protocols. New measures were implemented to ensure that such a breach could never happen again. High-tech security systems were installed, and guards received additional training to handle any potential threats. The escape from Colonia became a textbook example of what can happen when complacency sets in. It served as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and the need for constant improvement in security measures. The lessons learned from this incident continue to shape prison policies to this day. Section 9. A legacy of escape. In the aftermath of the escape, Colonia Prison underwent a series of significant changes. Security was tightened, staffing was increased. New protocols were put in place to prevent a similar incident from ever happening again. The escape from Colonia served as a wake-up call. The story of the Texas Seven continues to fascinate the public today. It is a story of desperation, ingenuity, and the human desire for freedom. The escape from Colonia, though ultimately unsuccessful, stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It serves as a reminder that even in the most hopeless of situations, hope can still find a way.